friends, so can we layer multiple colors of Cricut Infusible Ink? So Infusible Ink are the sublimation sheets developed by Cricut. The answer is yes. There is a specific way we can do it in Cricut Design Space so that we are cutting multiple colors and that we are layering them and then we are pressing one time. So you are crafting with Kim Byers. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and this is what our final design is going to look like. So if you download my free cut file and you upload it into Cricut Design Space, this is what it's going to look like when it comes in. So if you want to get this multicolor and we want to press it at one time, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you two different things. I'm going to show you the slice method and I'm going to show you the contour method. So for the slice method, we're going to ungroup this because I want each piece individual. I want us to be able to work with these. So for the star, there are two stars. One is just slightly smaller than the other. We're going to grab both of those stars. We're going to go down to the slice tool and we're going to slice them out. And when we get done with that, we're going to have the outline or the red of the star. We're going to have the original interior, which is behind the blue of the red, and we're going to have the blue. So we are going to delete or turn off that interior, so what's behind the blue. So basically we only want one layer. We want the red to show on the outside, but we don't want to press color over color. So we have just sliced out the interior of that star. So that's method number one. Method number two, we're going to use with the word USA. And so let's just grab just the USA and we're going to go into the contour tool. So in the contour tool, you're going to be able to go in and just deselect things that you don't want to use. So for instance, in USA, we have 4 different lines. And so we're going to take out the outer and the inner. And then we're going to do that for the S and we're going to do that for the A. So let's pop off and let me show you this. So we have the inside, and so you can see that we're going to have a different color. And so once we've done that with the S and the A, we are simply going to duplicate it. So now that I've duplicated that, I've changed it to red. It'll be easier for us to see how they fit. We'll go back into contour, and I'm going to deselect the blue one. So the most outer, the blue, deselected, and then the third, we're going to deselect that. So then when we move them back on top of each other, voila! So now we're going to have multiple colors. How cool is this going to be? And so you can do that with the contour tool and you can do that with the slice tool. So we are going to use this top one and let's make a t-shirt. Okay, so I've gathered all of my materials. So I have my machine, and you can use any machine for Cricut Infusible Ink. I have my blank t-shirt, I have my lint roller, I have some heat tape, and I have 2 colors of infusible ink, blue and red, and then I have my heat press. Let's go ahead and put our first color on the mat. So you'll notice right off that it's very muted. This is actually kind of like a pattern. It's going to give us a washed retro vibe. We put that on the mat and I like to use my brayer, and then we're just going to load it in and let our Cricut cut. And we'll peel our infusible ink off of our mat upside down so that it doesn't bend. Then we'll put our red onto the mat the same size as the blue. We'll use our brayer and let that cut. Now we just take our red off of the mat, same process, and the next thing we want to do is store our machine because we're done with cutting and we want to weed out our infusible ink. Now it is a crack and popping method and you can pretty much do it all with your hands. Now one thing I do want to point out is you're going to want one of your liners to stay the full size because you're going to be applying one of the colors to the other carrier sheet so that we are able to press both the red and the blue at the same time. Okay, so I've chosen to transfer the red over to the blue because the blue has all this tiny little lettering and so we don't want to have to mess with that. So what we're going to do is by hand move our red design over to the blue backer. Starting with the star, we're just going to peel it off with our hands and place it over the blue, making sure not to overlap any ink, and then we're going to move right on to the letters. Now that our design is ready, the next thing we want to do is prep our shirt. So I have multiple sheets of parchment paper that we'll be using to protect our machine. I have my shirt. I've already pressed it a little bit just to get any excess wrinkles out. I'm taking a lint roller and getting any lint off. If you've not done infusible ink before, you have to get the lint off or your ink will actually stick to the lint, and then when you wash your shirt, there goes your ink. So we want to make sure we get all the excess off, and then make sure that you do the pre-press. So it's like 15 seconds. I'll put a link to the Cricut guide down below so that you can check that out. But basically, make sure that you do this pre-press. And it's not really about the wrinkles as much as it is about moisture in the fabric. And so you want to get that out, but then you want to allow it to cool completely. So you don't want to lay your infusible ink onto your shirt until it's completely cool, because the ink will want to start transferring and you might not be ready yet. Now we measure and we place some cardstock inside of the shirt so that it doesn't bleed to the back. Next we add our heat tape to keep our design in place, add some parchment paper to protect our press, and press according to the Cricut guide down below. Okay, so while it's still warm, it's time for the reveal. Oh yes! Oh, I'm loving it, so cute. Okay, so let's compare it to the box. So you can see it was kind of like that watery look to it, and I think it turned out beautiful, give me that retro washed look, and it's gonna be great for this upcoming holiday season. Up next, let's make some more infusible ink and sublimation projects, and I can teach you some more about Cricut Design Space. Let's go.